Oh, can't hear me? We'll open this public hearing with a PS 20-3 request to subdivide 72.45 acre parcel of land into 4 lots ranging in size from 12 to 25 acres near the intersection of 10 Mile and Poison Spider Road. With that, I'd ask for the staff report, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we have PS 20-3, the Failure Acres Major Subdivision. Location and zoning: the proposed subdivision is located near the intersection of 10 Mile Road and Poison Spider. The subject parcel and all surrounding parcels are zoned urban agricultural, UA. Here's a map showing our subject property. So we are west of Casper. We are down Poison Spider Road, roughly where it intersects 10 Mile. Another more common way of getting there would be go down Zero Road, turn and go south on 10 Mile, and then you'll be at the same location. The road there does turn to gravel. Poison Spider leading up to that point is a paved road. At that point, it becomes a graveled road at that intersection. As you can see, the entire zoning around there is urban ag. This is looking from lot number 1 from Poison Spider Road. This is from looking west down Poison Spider Road. Again, the proposed subdivision is on the left-hand side of this photo. Again, this is looking southwest down Poison Spider Road. I'm there on the side. Looking northeast at lot number 3. All of this subdivision, of course, is south of Poison Spider Road. This is looking down Poison Spider Road. Criteria for approval: is the subdivision consistent with the development plan? The proposed subdivision is located in neighborhood 12 of our Casper Canal of the 2016 development plan. The development plan recommends maintaining agricultural land and county roads. Staff's proposed finding of fact: the proposed subdivision is developed and does comply with the development plan and the zoning resolution. So when we get into the nuts and bolts of the 2016 development plan, we talk about densities that we would like to see developed. And at that point, this is a development that does meet that criteria, and that's 1 dwelling per, go down to as small as 1 per 5 acres. However, in this zoning district, you can only get, we're talking about 10 acres or larger in the lot size. So it is compliant with our development plan. We had extensive neighborhood meetings during the development plan to seek public input, and that was a quite lengthy process, several years in the making to come up with. So it is in compliance with that development plan. Criteria continued: is the subdivision in conformance with the general provisions, Chapter 1 of the Subdivision Design Standards, Chapter 7? Staff's proposed finding of fact: the subdivision has been processed in accordance with these applicable provisions and subdivision standards of the 2013 subdivision regulations. So we talked about the 2016 development plan, and we're also now talking about the 2013 subdivision regulations. Different set of regulations. We look at concerns with that area, and we were able to say that yes, it does meet those subdivision regulations. Access is proposed to be off of a county road. You'll see in probably a later slide here, Road and Bridge has been part of that conversation, and they're in agreement with the proposed subdivision and the proposed accesses off of the county road. There's also a point in the subdivision regulations where we talk about areas of hazard. It's noted in the design standards that there's an area of high water of the drainage that comes down through there, and that is noted on the plat. They've put a dashed line indicating the center line of that, so it'll notify folks in the future when they want to develop those lots of that's an area of hazard, and there's a note put on the plat showing that also. Has the applicant provided evidence that sufficient water supply system and sewer disposal will comply with state and local standards? The staff's proposed finding of fact: the subdivision will be served by Pioneer Water and Sewer District. Each of the lots will have septic systems. ECS engineers performed a soil and feasibility percolation test on each lot. Each lot will be required to have a final perk test and septic design at the time of building the single-family dwelling. So the way that development process works for folks that haven't been part of it is when you apply for a building permit, you turn in a site plan of where you're going to place your home and how many bedrooms and bathrooms you have in that. That's then turned over to the health department. The health department visits the site and they do an on-site percolation test. They'll do how quick does the water dissipate into the soil. And from that, the health department then permits the septic systems, and they're put in accordance to Wyoming, or the Wyoming DEQ and the Casper-Natrona Health Department rules and regulations. The subdivision will be served by Pioneer Water and Sewer District, so the key there is they'll be getting domestic water from Pioneer Water. So we talked just briefly about the sewer, but the water then comes from Pioneer Water District, and they also have agreed with this subdivision. Does the subdivision appear to be compatible with the surrounding area and not detrimental to the future development of the area, not detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the inhabitants of the area and the county? Staff's proposed finding of fact: the area is agricultural and residential based on the development plan. The subdivision and surrounding areas of the proposed subdivision meet the urban ag district requirements. So when you go out there, there is a fair amount of development that's happened on the north side of Poison Spider Road. That's been divided up into lots over time and developed. And as you continue down Poison Spider, that development also continues to occur on the right or the north side of Poison Spider Road. Will an improvement service district be required? The answer is no. The applicant has been working with Road and Bridge Department on access to the subdivision. So an improvement service district is a requirement that's part of our subdivision regulations. It has to do with maintenance of roads that are through a subdivision. In this instance, we have a county road that is maintained by the county. So in effect, when they were able to work with Road and Bridge for the approaches, there was no need for an improvement service district for the subdivision. Staff's proposed finding of fact: access to the subdivision will be from Poison Spider Road and is maintained by Natrona County Road and Bridge. An improvement service district will not be required for this subdivision. Public comment. As of tonight's meeting, one phone call in opposition has been received. The concern was with the additional traffic on Poison Spider Road. Notifications were sent to property owners within 1/2 mile, and that's approximately 30 property owners. Proposed motion: staff proposes Planning Commission enter a motion and vote to recommend approval of this agenda item by the Board of County Commissioners, incorporate by reference all findings of fact set forth in the staff report and this public hearing. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd answer any questions the commission may have.
Any questions for staff? Reed? Hal?
Jason, I assume how this works is the applicant is looking to get approval from the county, and then they'll do their Chapter 23 DEQ report? Is that how that works, or is that required?
So a DEQ Chapter 23 is not required on this subdivision because we are less than 5 or less, does not require Chapter 23s. That discretion is at the health department's leisure, and they did not require the Chapter 23 in this instance. Statutorily, it's 5 or less. Anything 5 or more is mandatory.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, question for staff?
I just had one question. So the road is gravel, I guess, starting, looks like a 10-mile road. Is there any requirement to pave that based on a certain level of traffic in that area? Is the county required to do anything in accordance with that?
No, there's no threshold for that. That topic has come up at planning and zoning in years past about what levels of improvement should be borne by a particular development. And in this situation, I guess I would offer these 5 lots, how many cars do they add to Poison Spider versus 1, the general public, and 2, the folks that maybe live out there. Poison Spider's a heavily used road, and I believe there's several of the oil companies use it for water access to get to the Poison Spider fill station. So they do see a lot of work, and I guess I would also offer that our gravel roads are more easily maintained than our paved roads, for sure. So we have not entered into that type of a conversation with this proposed subdivision.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Jason. With that, I'll open the public hearing on this agenda item. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this agenda item?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Lisa Burridge with Lisa Burridge and Associates Real Estate, and this is Kelly Failer, the owner of the land in question. We started earlier this year, went through the process with Jason Gutierrez. We've also met with, as Jason mentioned, Road and Bridge. We've met with Pioneer Water, and we've met with Casper Alcova Irrigation. So I know some concern has come up, is the irrigated parcel going to stay irrigated? Yes, it is, so there won't be any change there. Jason had mentioned 5 lots earlier, it's just 4 lots that are in question on the proposed plat that you have, which was completed by ECS engineers. We're certainly happy to answer any questions you might have.
Reed? Anything for Lisa? Matt? No, Lisa, I would ask you to stick around for a minute after the meeting, please. I need a word with you, please, if you don't mind.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this agenda item? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this agenda item? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this agenda item?
I want to speak, but I don't know if it's in favor or opposed.
Get up here. I'll let you straddle the fence, Mr. Zeal.
Mister, huh? I'm Chad Zeal. I live
Keep
across
that in mind.
the road at 11300 Poison Spider Road. I understand the want to break this up, but this also leads to issues such as the south end of 8 Mile Road, where now the guy that's lived there since the 50s has problems with dogs, looky-loos driving around, so on and so forth. And there's another issue on there that probably should be addressed of using a federal easement as a driveway. I don't know that I think Casper Alcova said that's fine, but they don't care. But when it got down to it, I think there would be an issue there,
There is.
so.
All right, thanks, Mr. Zeal. Anyone else wishing to speak against this agenda item? Anyone else wishing to speak against this agenda item? Last time. Anyone else wishing to speak against this agenda item? With that, I'll close the public hearing on this, turn it over to the commission for a recommendation.
Mr.
Reed?
Chairman?
Go ahead, Al.
I'm sorry? Mr. Chairman, I'd move approval of PS 20-3 and including the findings of fact presented by staff here this evening.
Okay, I have a motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second. Mr. Rasner with a second. Okay, is there any further discussion on this agenda item?
My only discussion is what we talked about previously, about the access to
Okay,
whatever track to, and whether that, and then whether you can go over that,
yeah,
and I don't know, that's,
yeah. I'm sure Lisa's got that well in hand, seeing as how she's dealt with Cade previously. With that, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor of this agenda item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. It will be heard by the Board of County Commissioners in this room on October the 6th at 5:30. Thank you for coming. With that, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is TA 20-2, a request to amend Planning Department fee schedule. I'd ask for the staff report, please.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
It's all right. I get more lenient, getting closer to my termination date. Two more.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, text amendment 20-2 is to amend the Planning Department fee schedule, an application by the Planning Department. In 2010, the Planning Department amended the fee schedule and document prices to increase the fees associated with development. In 2013, the subdivision regulations were also amended, adding the reimbursement for the county surveyor review onto the applicant. Prior to that, the county was paying for county surveyor costs. And so we put that, we moved that onto the applicant in 2013. Even with these changes, the department is still paying for development activities. Most recent examples of this was the conditional use permit for Dino Solar. Here's some specifics with Dino Solar. We charged a $300 application fee. Adjacent letter postage was $580. Office supplies were estimated at $100. Legal notices, $102. We put our time in here. You guys can all read, of course, but we get down to the end and the application fee of $300 offsetted a $2,000 expenses. So the county was upside down almost $1,800 in that one example. Agreed, this is one example. This is a large example. But what it demonstrates is currently what's happening is as we look at county funding, the commissioner's desire has always been that the development department is a break-even type of a department, i.e. the development pays for its own way, so to speak. And right now what's happening is that's being offset, and the county commissioners then have to find other funding mechanisms to make up that shortfall. And so staff is working toward more toward that break-even standpoint. Typical CUP variance zone change requires a minimum 14 hours of staff time to process. A major subdivision is approximately 20 hours. These estimations do not include email or phone exchanges, public comment calls, open houses, or planning commission BOCC meetings, vehicles and fuel costs associated with our on-site reviews. All applications requiring public meetings must be published in the Casper Star Tribune. Of course, that's dictated by state statute. An average cost of a legal notice is $96 with an average postage of about $10. Staff has reviewed the application fees of 9 counties around the state. Natrona County is among some of the lowest fees associated with any of the above applications. An increase in fees associated with subdivisions, conditional use permit, zone changes, and variance zone certificates and PUDs. This amendment also includes a fee change to the road name and research fee. We do a fair amount of research where folks come in and ask us to do research on properties. We also name a lot of unnamed roads in the county it's for everybody's benefit, but we do go through that task also. The fees are provided in your packet. I don't have a slide up here that demonstrates that. I've got them here if we want specific questions, but we did advertise this proposal and we received no public comments to date in regards to fees. With that, I'd answer any questions the commission may have.
Reed?
I do have some, here.
I'm sorry?
I do have some questions. The $75 an hour for the planning and research and the staff, is this just to self-maintain the department? Because they're already planned to receive their pay no matter if they're planning and researching a property or not. They're going to receive their salary, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, I mean, the commission has said in a budget that this money is allocated for salaries or hourly wages. I just want to understand exactly where this is coming from to throw that back out to the taxpayers again for more fees and costs incurred for planning and zoning.
So they do set the money aside because of course, we have to budget for the entire year. The expectation is the work is development's going to continue to occur, and so that work's going to come in, and the hope is the fees would break even with the costs we had, so that we're not using, for instance, general fund monies to fund development.
Right, but the hourly wage is already set in the fiscal year budget.
Right, but it's set based upon there's going to be some work coming in. So during the budget process, the commissioners come to me and ask, what's your prediction on the revenues that you will be bringing in this year, so that when we go through the budget process, they can see, in the development department, we have building fees and then planning fees. And so I'll give them a breakdown of what we predict or what happened last year, and that goes into their budgeting process. So they're expecting that there's going to be some work coming in. So we're trying to offset those costs.
Okay. And then the increase in percentages as they come up. So if we look at just the regular continual use permits, they were $300, so it's a 50% increase to $450. And then we go down, the communication tower, $1,000 is the current cost, right? So it'd be a 65% increase if we include the $150 notice fee, $500 recertification fee, a 32.5% increase on the wind energy conservation system, 25% on the utility scale solar, just going down, and then 110% on the planned unit development. Right? I
Yep.
just want to make sense of the numbers and how
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
coming,
the-
like, how it's being allocated. All of them are 50%, well, there's two that are in the 30%, and then 100% on a zoning certificate.
So I would,
It just seems very excessive.
when you look at it from a percentage standpoint, I would agree that does come off as excessive. They're such small dollar amounts that the increases make the percentage awfully high. The zoning certificate, we'll take that one, for instance, right now we're charging $10 for that. When you take the staff time to take the zoning certificate application, the planning office to review it, and the time we get it back, I would contend even $50 is on the low end of that.
So, hold on, so the zoning certificate currently today is $10?
$10.
So what's the $50? This is where I was confused looking through this.
Yeah, so
You're proposing it go to $50?
we're proposing it go to $50, so that would be an
Okay.
increase of $40.
Okay, so my percentages are way off. I understand now. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, no
No, that's
problem.
okay. I wanted to understand what was happening on this paper, because I kept reading through it. And didn't
Yeah.
understand it, so, all
No
right.
problem.
Al, are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Al?
So I have a statement to make more than a question, and that is having to do with county surveyor reimbursement. Jason, you might recall where, is it still the case where the two major engineering firms in town, engineering surveying, take turns being the county surveyor?
Yeah, to give you an update on that, we did put out an RFP when we requested proposals from any licensed surveyors in the area. We received proposals, and ultimately, two of the major ones here in town were chosen. So to alleviate conflicts of interest, then we do have two on contract. So if a CEPI plat comes in, WLC reviews it. If a WLC one comes in, then CEPI reviews it.
And otherwise, if not one of those two, like in this case, we had ECS prepare the plat for Failer, it's just the next one in line, is that how
Yeah,
it
we,
works? It's an
yeah,
alternating two?
we send them back and forth so that it's even between the two.
So, just for the sake of turnovers on staff and on the commission here, we had a situation a couple years ago where we had one of the two major engineering firms charging what an outside firm thought was an excessive amount for a review. And I think that was, as I understand that, it went through, but it was, there was still some grousing about it. It's like, why do I get charged this when a regular fee, a regular plat review would have been less? So, I guess I just throw that out there to know that there's an issue with, when it's a plat not done by either WLC or CEPI, another firm has had experience with getting charged excessive fees for reviews. That's all I have.
I appreciate, I mean, you started out, it was more of a comment than a question. I guess I'll offer back that staff was sensitive when that occurred, and we did look into it, and since that time, I have not received any comments along that line, so we're hoping that the system is better than it was then.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, do you have anything?
This is a follow-up on Reed. So the previous charges, are they on this sheet then? I'm trying to understand
I don't think there are.
Because I guess what I'm trying to do is
Right.
figure out what the percentage increase is. And then the other thing, and I'm kind of new to this, is are there certain things that are used quite frequently? Like, for instance, if you have a zone change fee, and are there a lot of zone, like, are there some of these that are used, fees that are used relatively infrequently? So, for instance, if you had a 50% increase in one, but it was used relatively infrequently, you're not gonna, that's not really gonna change your bottom line. But if you had something that was used relatively frequently, and the other thing is how the new schedule would compare to another county. Like, is this comparable, or do you have any data on what other counties charge for this? Just-
You know, our planner, Trish Chavez, worked on that extensively. Trish, would you like to answer some of those questions?
Yes, so I did research, like I said in the staff report, several counties. And to answer your first question, the conditional use permits, the variances, and the zone changes, our fees currently are $300. There's no legal notice fees included, it's just a straight 300. The communication towers, there's nothing changing on that one, and neither is the wind conversion energy systems. Those are all staying the same. The one thing that we did add was a notice fee to help cover the costs of the mailings and the legal notice. Those were not originally included. The solar, utility scale solar, that was a recent text amendment that was actually approved last week by the Board of County Commissioners with a $2,000 application fee. And that will help cover things like the Dyna-Solar, which was my example in the PowerPoint. The planned unit development, or the PUD, that is very rarely used. I think we have maybe 3, possibly 4 in the entire county that are PUDs. The most that we do would be an amendment to them, which would be like, I think it's $150 on there. But moving on from that, some of the counties that we have in here that I did research, I actually kind of hit the lower mark on those, just because it was an increase that it seemed kind of high, so I hit the lower on some of the counties. In Lincoln County, we have a zoning certificate is $150. Then they have a PUD or a rezone of a PUD amendment is a $300 fee. Major subdivisions start at $500 plus an additional fee for a preliminary plat. Your minor subdivisions are a $450 fee, and that's an application fee, with increasing lot fees, so $50 per lot additional. That was Lincoln County. Park County has a $50 building and zoning permit. They also have additional $300 if you're building within a floodplain, so that's the $50 zoning certificate that I'm requesting, or that we're requesting, and then $100 if you're in the floodplain, because there's extensive research that goes into that. So in Park County, you'd be looking at $350 fee. A conditional use permit is $300 plus all your costs for mailings, legals, any engineer reviews. So, their zone map amendment is $400 plus all costs. And so they're, ours are on the lower side of that.
So these are more modest increases that I'm kind of hearing.
They are.
Previously charged.
They are, and when I went through and I researched the time that it takes to do a subdivision, for instance, I actually sat down and wrote out the hours that it takes to do the mailings, to do the research, as an example. And I think it's easily, 20 hours like they've stated in a subdivision, which is costly, along with everything else. I don't think it's extensive or dramatic. I think it's pretty on point.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jason. I'll open a public comment on our fees portion of this. Is there any public comment on this? If not, then I would ask for a motion from this committee, this commission? Don't be shy.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion? I need a second, please.
Cheers. No, go ahead. Well, then you get to vote, one way or the other.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this agenda item? If not, all in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. That will be heard in a September meeting by the Board of Natrona County Commissioners in this room on the 15th of September at 5:30. Okay, with that, anything for the good of the order? Okay, with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're done. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for coming, please.